Welcome to your Thriving Heart for Thriving Life Grief Tips. Have you ever have a situations where you walk in the room or you are around certain people and you just kind of have this feeling something's not right, or you are around some people and over time you start noticing yourself to feel uncomfortable. Perhaps you feel heavy, perhaps you feel angry for seemingly no reason, and nobody else apparently or overtly angry or upset, or perhaps you even feel anxious or panicky or something. And again, nobody in the right around you overtly panicky or anxious. Or perhaps you or your loved ones have a time where you just don't feel right. You kind of like, some people say it's wake up on the wrong side, or perhaps you interact with some people, you go to the grocery, and then you really just not feeling right afterward. You feel off a lot of time is what we call it. And if any of this happen, particularly nowadays where there is a lot of things going on in the world, including today, my April 21st, 2025, the passing of the Pope, many people are grieving. And a lot of time, even if you are not grieving, you can actually get affected by people around you. And if you are having a tough time, if you are grieving for any cause and any reasons, my heart goes out to you, as I can only imagine how you feel. And if you already are grieving for some reason, any of the 40 different causes of grief, we are even more prone to be, so to say, catching what other people feeling. And there are a couple different reasons for this. The first one is our nervous system, both the limbic system as well as the mirror neurons. In other words, humans are designed to mirror others without even realizing it. Sometimes there are a conscious mirroring, but most people mirrors other, including their feelings, without knowing and without having it in their forefront conscious mind. And then there is also the emotional thinking. Human by nature are social animals, and so our systems, so to say, are trained to sync with other people. So the persons next to you might be feeling anxious but not saying anything, or feeling angry or grieving, and you are not knowing this because the person doesn't say anything. Over time you can actually catch that on, so to say. And there are also studies by the HeartMath Institute that say not only the neuron in our mind do that, but our heart do that as well in an opposite way. So in other words, somebody around you feeling anxious or anything that can change the electromagnetic of their heart, which is a change in feelings, can change the electromagnetic of their heart, will affect somebody else around them. And this can be as far out as across the room. They did several studies for this. And people who are HeartMath Institute trainer actually are trained to regulate our own heart rhythm and feelings such that we're able to help people that way. And so this is something that's been practiced for quite a while, actually. So those are a few different reasons. But more importantly, what can you do if you are feeling a lot of irritability? This might not necessarily, when we think about grief, a lot of people say, yeah, well, I have not been feeling heavy. I've not been feeling more sad, but actually I've been feeling more edgy, or I've been feeling more irritable, or more anxious, or just restless. Or some people do feel more sad, or you just feel heavy. You just kind of like feeling like, gee, like, I can't quite think clearly for whatever reason. And this is because the way grief affects us is not always sadness. Many times we think that grief means sadness, but actually there are a lot of different expressions of grief. People who are grieving, if you are experiencing grief, you might notice one moment you feel sad, the next moment you feel anxious, the next moment you feel something else. And so all of those are things that you might be feeling. Now, what can you do if you have not been feeling yourself? You have not been feeling yourself. I'll share a few tips here. The first one, when we talk about mirroring and also catching the mirroring and the emotional synchronicity, as well as other people's heart rhythm affecting you, is not one thing that you can do as much as possible, not always possible, is to not put yourself in a situations where the other people might be in not in their best emotional state, so to say. So for instance, if you work in an office and certain group of people always come together and fan together, and they all get, by the end of the coffee break, they all get very upset. Perhaps you want to not just not participating, but you might not even want to be right around them when they're doing their coffee break, for instance. And the other part is also, of course, protecting yourself in a different way for things such as digital input, whether that is from TV, from radio, or from the computer, social media, and so forth. It can, anything that you see and read can definitely influence us. And so anything in that can upset you, it can definitely influence you and make you feel happier. If you see a whole list of even people that whom you don't know having this loss or angry about that and this and this and that. Before you know it, you can say, oh my God, the world is a mess. So protecting yourself is one. And then the other part is to, very importantly, if you want to say, okay, this is seemingly like happening for no reasons to me, or you might notice, I have one, from time to time, people come to me and say, I notice every time I go to this particular store, which is most convenient for the persons to go to grocery, for instance, I just come out and not feel right. I either get very angry or I get very anxious. I say perhaps there is something in the feeling of people in that store, but we would try to go to a different store. And so acknowledging it and knowing that this is not, by the way, acknowledging it and be acknowledging it and know that this is not a form of weakness or you being overly sensitive. Some people say, "Oh, I'm just too sensitive. This is a weakness or something." And there are some people who are more sensitive, but in general, we know that this is how our nervous system in our brain as well as in our heart work. This is how our nervous system and our heart work. So the other thing that you can do is to acknowledge that and then visualize yourself, acknowledge it, and then visualize yourself releasing the feelings, whatever the feeling it is visualize yourself. Let's say you feel anxious, then what thing you can do is say, okay, I notice I'm feeling anxious. I don't know why I'm feeling anxious, but I'm going to just release this. And if you are standing or sitting, perhaps you put your feet on, make sure that both feet on the ground. And it's okay if you wear high heels. Some people say, I wear high heels. Do I need to take my shoes off? Or I wear shoes. Do I need to take my shoes off? No, you don't need to take your shoes off at all. But you can sit there and say, I'm feeling this way or I'm feeling that way, and I'm going to just visualize that there is a a breeze, or as you inhale that you deliver the air and then push everything down into the ground. through your feet, all deep into the ground, and just know that the earth or the mother natures, whichever you want to call it, can neutralize this. So it's not like you're dumping your misery on somebody else, right? And so you can do something like that, where you can imagine, you can even imagine like fresh air, fresh energy. Some people like to imagine like a bright light going through you and just sweeping down through your head, your torso, your belly, your leg, your thigh, all the way to your feet, and sweep off whatever this uncomfortable feeling that you capture perhaps from somebody. Another way to release this that's very helpful is also when you're able to yawn and shake your nervous shake your body. And the reasons the yawning is kind of release up to when you yawn, it's activate multiple different muscle, as well as when you shakes, you actually calibrate your nervous system that way. A lot of time when we're feeling affected by something, our neurons start firing in a way that we might not want them to be firing. And when you yawn and when you calibrate, when you shakes, it's actually help you calibrate your neuron back to where you want it to be before you got affected by whomever, wherever. And so that is something that you can do. And then also, I apply this as the beginning. Ask yourself, what part of me is resonating with this grief? And perhaps it might not be the exact same answer, but for instance, let's say you hear people are grieving from from certain things, and you say, well, I'm not experiencing that loss. For instance, you might hear people who are very sad and grieving from a loss of a well-known person. You said, well, I don't know about the person. I'm actually not even grieving at all about the person, but something that may make that people grieving just kind of very much affecting me suddenly. Well, it might not be the exact same grief, but we know that grief are cumulative and cumulatively impairing. And we also know, so in other words, these things that from this person and then that person and that event and event from your past, from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 5 years ago, 5 months ago, if it's not completely resolved, they add on to each other to cause more effect on you more and more and more. And if there is any of those that has happened any time in your lifetime, so if you are in your 30s, in your 50s, anything that ever happened, you might have consciously forgotten them. But if something happened that set your nervous system back to that time, you might feel noticeable trigger. You might suddenly say, "Dang, I'm really sad for no seemingly good reason for a few days, for the last few days here, or I'm absolutely irritable for the last several days." And I once I have a client who was working with me, and then she suddenly got very irritable and very upset by something, and she said, what the heck is this about?" So I invite her to say, you know what, just ask yourself, what part of me might be resonating with this grief? What part of me might be resonating with this? And it come to her while she's taking a shower the next day, that an event that happened when she was like 9 years old, and she practically has forgotten, where in that time she was quite angry, but she felt that she couldn't do anything, so she just stuffed it in. And for us being human, one of our survival mode is forgetting it. And thankfully for her, this shows up right when she was working with me as her grief coach. So we take care of that along with the other cause of grief that she come to me. But you would also want, if you notice something affecting you, to say, what part of me is resonating with this grief? And just, you don't have to sit and try to dig. You don't have to say, okay, I'm going to start writing down every event that ever happened in my life. But if it is some things that meant to come up to be released, it will come up to you sooner than later. And so those are a few tips that you can do. And then, of course, to do something that allow you to feel lighter, and perhaps to by journaling, listen to a song that can help you feel better, perhaps allowing yourself to take extra long warm shower, light a candle, some form of where you say, you know what, I'm not feeling quite right, and I'm going to give myself a little bit TLC. I'm going to take care of myself, even if it is just 5 minutes, even if it's just going to sleep 5 minutes early and say, all right, I'm just going to allow this and release this. That's something that can be helpful. Even drinking water, as you drink water, instead of gulping it down if you don't feel quite right. Many people that come to me and said, I have anxiety and panic and all this, I said, the next time you drink anything, just drink that intentionally. Just drink it with an intention. Okay, as I'm drinking this, it will refresh me, and I will feel better. That can be very, very helpful. And so release what's not yours through multiple different ways. Protect yourself from capturing other people's emotions by not being around them and not being continuously exposed, as well as what we call grief buffer, as well as to ask yourself, is this something that actually trying to come up, kind of a clue that something you can benefit from releasing, as well as take care of yourself. And if you have any questions, feel welcome to put it in the comment or to connect with me directly if you are not comfortable putting it in the comment. And you can connect with me at drtan for grief at gmail.com or through my website, joyfulreachesbeyondgrief.com. And as always, you are welcome to connect with me. If you find any part of these videos useful, please subscribe. You are also welcome to share this video with anyone who want to do that. And this is Dr. BirgitteTan with Joyful Riches Beyond Grief. I look forward to see you again in the next video.